Neena Gill.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome, Vice President. In October, you gave a keynote speech in New York and said, our goal is to boost investments, deepen capital markets and knock down cross-border barriers, I paraphrase, which is great. But to make the CMU a reality for the real economy, you really need the full engagement of the European asset management sector. However, a key issue is that it's largely based in the City of London. And some argue that the Commission is paralysed by this fact and no longer has a clear vision as to how it moves forward. And instead, it starts to focus on technicalities like equivalence regime. I'd like to ask, how did this come about and why are we going there at a time when we need to be focusing on the goal of jobs and growth and using all the options to meet this target? But somehow we seem to be going in the opposite direction, and we could lead to a perception that the EU is having a regulatory protectionism. And I think by default we may actually allow the results of the UK referendum to derail the delivery of an important objective. So I think the Commission really has to deliver on promises that President Juncker made 2.5 years ago, and we only have, 2.5 years more. And in that particular time frame, we do not know exactly where the UK will be. But so I would say there's a real urgency for the EU to deliver on this, given we've got elections in France and Germany and elsewhere next year, and that we have the most protectionist president-elect in the USA, and that could mean that we're down a dangerous road. So I would really just like to ask you, how do you think we can speed up delivery? And my second point quickly, I welcome your comments on the banking sector. I too am concerned on the possible negative impact of the Basel discussions on the EU's economy, and in particular the possible negative consequences for the EU businesses and the financing of the infrastructure. And I'm particularly concerned about the rushed decision-making and lack of transparency of the entire process. So do you share those concerns, and what guarantees can you give us that the proposals that you will present to us following the Basel recommendations will be proportionate and will not jeopardise our common objectives of jobs and growth? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for those questions. So first on Capital Markets Union. Actually, this was one of the first European Commission reaction following the British referendum, that we came with a communication on Capital Markets Union, trying to accelerate the work and be bolder where we can. And actually, we made it very clear that the prospect of the EU's biggest capital market actually leaving the EU makes the case for capital markets union and development of capital markets across the EU even stronger. And this is the approach we are going to follow. And in terms how we can deliver, I would say the good start would be to reach a swift agreement on the first batch of proposals which we have already proposed and which are also here in the European Parliament. We know that in a number of legislative files, or some of them, Council has reached a common position already a year ago. And we're still waiting for Parliament's position to start trialogues. So from that point of view, there are things certainly where we can concentrate and do more to deliver quicker. And also something which we'll be looking now when we'll be coming with a proposal on CRR is on the impact of CRR on long-term finance, and especially looking at aspects like SMEs and infrastructure. So in short, Commission's ambition is not reduced. Commission is probably even more committed to deliver on CMU than it was before. Then on this question of banking and completion of Basel, well, I will not reiterate this position which we have and which we seem to be broadly sharing. Well, the first thing is to come with a good agreement in Basel, and we are better equipped if we speak as EU to the extent possible one voice. Well, you know, European Commission is not a member in Basel, it's observer, but we are trying to coordinate the position of the member states and making sure that EU is actually coming with a coordinated approach to those negotiations. Because it's important that a good agreement is reached in Basel, which we then can follow through. Of course, in any case, when coming with the proposals, as it has been also before, we take into account European specifics and, among other things, the needs to finance the wider economy. So this certainly will be part of our consideration when we'll be coming with proposals. But first, we really need to reach a balanced agreement. Thank you.